who's the hero of your story? Is the hero of your story you? It could be. You could be an innovator. You could be a CEO. Or is the hero of your story someone else and you become the guide? Now, today, there's so many stories that can be going on. Digital transformation, artificial intelligence, crypto, right? Stablecoin, maybe be legal very soon.
Welcome in, everybody. You're listening to Wrestling Payments, a podcast where we help payment professionals contend with the challenges of modernizing their payments operations and identifying ways to build for the future. If you're interested in payments innovation and modernization, you're in the right place. Now, let's get into it.
Hello and welcome to Wrestling Payments. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about an interesting topic, right? The interesting topic is WrestleMania. Oh. So I had an aha moment. I had an aha moment during WrestleMania. And the aha moment was, it was a great story. There was a great story being told. I won't get into details. I don't think folks are really wrestling fans, but it was brilliant the way they executed this story. And it led me to think, what's your payment story? Do you have a payment story? I've been watching wrestling. This was WrestleMania 41. Been watching wrestling prior to the first WrestleMania. I've been in payments for 36 years this year. So they've kind of run parallel, and it's really fascinating. For example, let's give a little story, right? Here's a little story. Back during the 90s, Nacha, the National ACH Association, started making a bunch of rules around the way to convert checks. It was great. They figured out the legal way to take the check, and instead of it being a check, it became a source document. Became an information resource. You could take the information off the check, send it through the ACH. You didn't need the check anymore. Very innovative. So much effort went into it. Rulemaking, lots and lots of people together. The implementation process across an entire industry. That's a story, right? That was a story. And then, in the early 2000s, Check 21 comes along. All of the work that was done, the effort, the time, people maybe had careers based on their expertise in processing these source documents. And now they're no longer a piece of paper anymore. They can be turned into an image. There's multiple stories like that within payments. The ACH was created because the checks were just piling up everywhere. That's one of the stories. There's lots of stories about why something is something. But the story was they had made some innovations. They've done some real good things. At one point, they had, like a hole punched card. They were treating the check like that, so the check could decide where it goes when it's being processed because it was punched in a certain way. They created this technology that encoded a number on the bottom of the check in magnetic ink, so a computer could say, who's this for? Oh, it's them. Go send over there, send over there, send over there. Very innovative, very faster, trying to reduce the large growth of check volume that was occurring. They were being buried in paper. So the ACH was born, right? And all of a sudden now you didn't need to send the paper anymore. You could send an electronic, let's call it a message, right? Today's days, we're calling them messages. Let's call it a message. They were sending messages for the secure connections between financial institutions, and the ACH was born. Today, it's reached billions and billions of transactions, trillions and trillions of dollars, and it continues to evolve. So I just wanted to touch on, what is your story? Do you have a payment story? What do you want your story to be? And I'm like a scavenger of knowledge. I take a little here, I take a little there. So one of the things I took knowledge from is a book I listened to, read, listen to. It's Building a Story Brand, and it's by Donald Miller. And he just put it in words that made a lot of sense to me, but he was certainly not the first person to say this. He was certainly not the first person to imagine telling a story and how the story goes. But he put it this way, and I'm reading from his material. And again, Donald Miller, Building a Story Brand. It's not my material. I'm not copying it. All credit to him. Here is nearly every story you see or hear in a nutshell. A character who wants something encounters a problem before they can get it. At the peak of their despair, a guide steps into their lives, gives them a plan, and calls them to action. The action helps them to avoid failure and ends in success. It's every story. I mean, it's every story. I mean, sometimes stories are a little off kilter and it ends in a failure, right? Or they replace the guide. And it's really interesting. This was very informative to me because I always thought I was the hero, right? Wrestling fan. I'm the hero. In my career, I'm the guide. That's my job. I'm supposed to help people get to where they need to go as best I can. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes I'm really good at it. But I'm the guide. You know, are you the hero? Or are you a guide? Are you both? Right? Really, really interesting. So I've been using AI a lot. AI helped me to write that. But and there are payment stories out there. There's The Story of Payments by Rich Oliver, available at Nacha. He writes about he lived the story. It was his payment story, and he lived it, and he just shares with us how things progressed. And in the here and now, we've got a lot of things going on. They're big, right? They're big changes, big rule changes, big economic changes, big political changes. But this is the story right now. And later, there's going to be another story, and this is going to be the history of that story. It's really fascinating if you get to it. So let's see what this story taught me. And this is, again, AI, and I got it up on my screen. So we use this model, right? I found a lot of stories out there. What's your story of payments? There were stories of payments out there. It was great. But for me, I'm really an ACH guy. They were card stories, you know. So I didn't end up with a card story, but I ended up with kind of a framework of a story. So I've set the stage. Again, my aha moment. I've been watching wrestling for over 40 years, and they've been telling, oh, it's great storytelling all the time. I finally had that aha, I get it. This was a story. It was brilliant, by the way. Highly recommend WrestleMania 41, night number 1. It had everything. It had the guide. It had the highs. It had the lows. It had the surprises. And it had the final outcome, which, depending on who you are, you think it was good or it was bad. But we introduced the hero, right? Who's the hero of your story? Is the hero of your story you? It could be. You could be an innovator. You could be a CEO. Or is the hero of your story someone else and you become the guide? Now, today, there's so many stories that can be going on. Digital transformation, artificial intelligence, crypto, right? Stablecoin, maybe be legal very soon. So there's a lot of stories going on. And there's a lot of stories, you know, just because it's a story doesn't mean that hero is the only one facing that story. A lot of folks have solved for a problem, but some haven't even picked up that same problem yet, and they still have the problem. So there's a lot of stories to be resolved. Who's your mentor? Who are you looking to for help? Is it an association? Is it consultants, advisory groups, Nacha, associations? Who's your hero? Who is your guide? Who's going to help you solve your problem, realize the challenges? Who's your Yoda, right? Really important to have a good Yoda. Star Wars is, if you go back and read the Donald Miller book, he goes to Star Wars an awful lot and talks about, a farm kid finds himself in an intergalactic battle, needs a mentor. He finds a mentor in Yoda, and Yoda tells him, good, high, low, winners. It's good stuff. But every story could be broken down to who's the mentor, who's the guide. And if you don't have a guide, we know what the next part of your story is. Who's the guide? What's the project? How is it going to transform things? Are you going to look at traditional methods, incremental methods? Are you going to look at digital solutions to solve the problem? The tests. What tests are you going to face during your story? It can include technical issues, regulatory issues, competition, right? Is a competitor coming in, taking so much of the market that there's not enough left to string together and compete. Is that happening? That's the negative, right? That's the guide's going to tell you the bad things that are happening. As well as, could there be an alliance formed? Do you find yourself in a position where you're fighting so hard and there are others fighting the same way? Maybe it's time to ally and you become a story of 2 or 3 or 4. I don't know. Just reading the script, right? This is the script and this is the story. And, interesting, the story never ends, right? It just starts another story. So there's a middle part of the story where you face the biggest challenges. You maybe you get to the point where you realize that success or failure is really important in the next stage. And if you fail, what are the repercussions, right? So in my script, this is called Approach to the Inmost Cave. So in this story we're telling here, this is the detail, the significant challenges of integrating a secure and efficient digital payment system, right? Maybe I don't know what you're integrating, what you've put in place of your story, but in this case, it's the digital payment system. You're maybe onboarding instant payments, and how what battles are you going to face in that journey? The ordeal, right? What are the setbacks? What are the rigorous tests that the star, the hero, goes through? What's going to make it hard? Is it going to be something you saw coming? Is it something you planned for? Is it something your guide maybe said, hey, always remember this part? Or is it just something that comes out of the blue and a day you walk in and the president of the country says, we're putting in gazillion-dollar tariffs. Wasn't on your play card, wasn't on the plan, wasn't on anything. Not that that's a negative or a positive, it's just another challenge, right? The reward, you get to celebrate the successful launch of your digital payment system in a positive way when you've survived, right? When you've achieved the goal. And then the road back, he explained that there's continuous improvement and adaptive efforts. Think back if your digital payment is something that's going to be replaced in 3 years with an AI payment, right? All payments now are AI and they're magic and they just happen. However they happen, they happen. Does it negate the amount of work and effort and achievement you went through to implement win your story, implement your solution? I don't think so. I think this is a never-ending, as an industry, it's a never-ending story of success. That's what I think. Lots of things have happened over time. I could itemize them, but let's use your imagination with what's next. This, after that, right? After you've achieved your goal, it's in the movie, the credits will start going by. But what's it mean for you? What's the next thing? What can you do with all you've learned to move on? Is it are you going to and I don't mean to use the word just, you're just going to maintain your system, right? You now become the lord of the digital payment system? Or is it, you've done so well, what's next? We need to put you on another project right away because you managed your team, you managed your resources, you found the straight line to solving the digital payment problem. What's next for you? And then this is, sit back and recognize you are not the person, the hero who started this journey. You're someone new, right? New skill set, new alliances, new guides, new partnerships. It's, if you asked me a year ago if I would be comparing WrestleMania to a payments career, I would say no. I'm doing it. What are some of the insights here? I think this StoryBrand, I really enjoyed that book. It was a good read. The guy was a great presenter. The idea that there's a guide and you should be looking out for your guide. And, it's like one of those ads. If you look around the room and you don't see the person who's doing this, you are that person. Maybe you're a guide. Maybe you're a guide in the story, and it's not a negative. You're Yoda. How can you get better than Yoda? You're, Paul Heyman in wrestling. You're the guide. You're the advisor, the wise man. How are your projects affecting the industry? Are you on a project that is contemporary? Are other organizations all trying to solve the same problem at the same time? Are you ahead of this story? Are you doing things that no one else is doing? But you've looked at the plans. You've talked to your guide. You see, this is great stuff. No one's doing it yet. We're the leader. We're the leader. Great. And if you're trying to catch up, catching up is a story unto itself, and that's fine. Find your guides. Finish the story. What's next? What else we got? Conclusion. I really did. It may sound weird. A 50-year-old man watching wrestling on a Saturday night, watching a match and going, oh, now that was a great story. It wasn't, I can't tell you how many matches I've watched. There's parts of a match. There's the locking up. There's the rest moves. There's that looks like a mistake. And then there's the conclusion. Sometimes there's a swerve. This WrestleMania had a double swerve, which was just fantastic. As a fan, I am a fan. I'm a fan of the good guys. I am a hater of the bad guys. And there were bad guys in this match, and it was brilliant. It was just so well told, the story. As we look at payments, what story are you looking at? At this point, when this is launched, we would have been coming back from Payments 2025. I am looking at my agenda for Payments 2025. I got multiple sessions recorded all over the place. I don't know which session I'm going to go to, but they're my guides. The sessions for this Payments, I went through it last night, and I go, oh, I'm trying to learn that. Oh, I'm trying to learn that. They spot on for being a guide for what I want to accomplish in payments. And what I want to accomplish in payments is certainly not what you want to accomplish in payments, but they're both good stories, right? Both good stories. So I thank you for letting me dress down and take my glasses off and just tell a story about stories. Stay tuned. We got a lot more stories, a lot more podcasts coming up ahead. Lots of topics. I think I'll be pretty dangerous when I come back from payments with the amount of knowledge I'm going to gain there. Drop me a line if you want to hear more about that. Think about your story. What is your story? Are you the hero? Are you the hero? Or are you the guide? Thank you.
On behalf of NEACH, your trusted resource in payments, and our guests, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning into the podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode and want to hear more about payments innovation and modernization, you can find the Wrestling Payments Podcast on the podcast page of NEACH.org or wherever you subscribe to podcasts. Just search for Wrestling Payments in your podcast app. Thanks for listening.